Hey everyone. Today's episode is going to be about unexpected costs that pop up when you've been laid off. I feel like there's a lot of mental and emotional energy that comes along with that, and I'm going through it right now. So I thought I'd share my experience and also just some little tips that might help if you're going through this. I was laid off November 10th, 2025, so it's been just over 2 months. And a little while ago, I had a plumbing thing pop up that cost about $600. So that was a bit of a bummer, unexpected home items. But in that case, I kind of was just so grateful that the problem was fixed. So that was what helped me kind of like get through. I want to talk about what happened today because it was just one of those emotional things that you go through whether you have a job or not, I'm sure, but it felt a little different to me today since being laid off. So this morning I was playing with my older dog Oscar, and all of a sudden I noticed his dew claw, so like the little claw above the paw, was like bent all the way to the side and bleeding. And he had had a dew claw injury before, so it's not the first time I've ever seen like his dew claw split, but it looked really bad. And I called the vet to see if they could get me in, and they couldn't get me in until later this afternoon. So I went to the emergency vet that is right up the road. And when they first brought me in, they said basically, we'll take a look at it. It might be like far enough down that we can just clip it and, bandage it and observe it. But if it's higher up on the nail where it's split, we're going to have to potentially like remove the digit maybe. So of course I'm already stressed and panicked just for my poor dog. Like I knew he was in pain, but he's such a trooper. So he was just like being so good. But then I'm also thinking like, oh my gosh, this is either going to be like $200 or like, I don't know how many $100. And it was so funny because the doctor said, and if it's just, removing the nail, we won't charge you. And what that really meant is like beyond the $200 emergency visit fee, I wouldn't get charged. So anyway, she takes him back, evaluates, and then comes back into the room to tell me what the next move is. And unfortunately, it was split like all the way up. So they were going to have to like remove the whole nail. It does have the ability to grow back, so it's not like it's gone forever, but she shows me the printout of like all the different things and how much it's going to cost, and she says, so if you want to not pay for the general anesthesia, it'll be $501, and if you do want to pay, it'll be like, I don't know, $608, something like that. So I think the general anesthesia was like $107. So there's a part of my brain that's like, damn, $100. But also, are you kidding me? I'm not going to not have my dog get numbing to like have this freaking procedure done. That would be horrible. So of course I like say, yes, I'll pay for the anesthesia. And in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe just like go out to eat a few less times this month. But then on the back, you have to sign the whole like, do you want to resuscitate or not resuscitate? And if you do want to resuscitate, it's $714. She's obviously like, we're just doing this nail procedure. It's highly unlikely, blah, 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 whatever. But of course I checked it. Like, what, I'm not going to do that. I mean, there's obviously some circumstances where you wouldn't select it, right? But it just felt like this moment where whether I have a job or not, and however much I make or not, I'm going to obviously do what I can to take care of my dog. And I know people have different opinions about like how much, they intervene with like medical stuff for their animals. But it was this moment of like, I'm obviously going to pay whatever the bill is and I want him to be better. But gosh, I really don't have like an extra $600. And so it got me thinking more about the dynamic of when you're unemployed and you have these unexpected expenses that pop up. And it can be like emotionally draining. And I'm very fortunate that I'm not like right now unsure where money is going to come from to like feed myself and pay my mortgage, like I'm okay. But $600 is still $600. Like that could buy a lot of other stuff had I not needed to spend. And of course, we're getting married in like 6 days. So that's exciting, but also expenses that luckily we had planned for before I was laid off. But it's what you think about when these expenses pop up. And so first, I just want to empathize if someone is going through an unexpected expense. And even if you have a job, sometimes unexpected expenses can set you way back. Like you're just starting to get savings together and then something pops up at your house or medical or whatever. So give yourself a little grace if you're feeling like really overwhelmed by that. And then I think it's really important to like have a little bit of financial education so that you can navigate through it. And the reason I share this is because when I was in my 20s and I was living in San Francisco, I had no idea how credit card interest worked. I just knew like you should pay your amount every month. Beyond that, I had not a lot of information. And I had this really high credit limit on one of my credit cards that I got when I moved out there, mainly because I had a job, but I also didn't have any student loans or any like debt. So I was given a lot of credit, but I had no idea what the interest rate even was or how that worked. And so, I mean, within a month of living in San Francisco, I was carrying a balance. And I remember after like a year thinking, okay, this is not like financially feasible long term. I need to figure out a way to start making more money. And of course, spending less didn't cross my mind, but that's a whole like in my 20s bipolar disorder type thing. But I'll just say that like in not understanding how credit card interest worked, I would just like pay what I could and still have enough to pay my rent. And because I was never going to pay the whole balance off, I didn't think a lot about what I was putting on there or charging. And I didn't want to miss out on like experiences or, you know, fun weekend trips or whatever, which sounds crazy to me now as an adult that I didn't realize by putting those things on a card and not paying for them, I was paying so much interest. Lucky for me, I went on a work trip. I had just started making significantly more money. I had gotten a job transition. So I was excited about that, but I also was under like a mountain of debt. I go on a work trip. I meet up with an old college friend, and they had gotten in a lot of debt when they moved to New York. And they explained to me first how credit card interest worked. And I was feeling so stupid, like thinking of all the money I had basically racked up and now had to pay just because I had kept putting extra charges every month and not paying towards the balance. So anyway, this very important thing that he taught me that basically turned my entire financial like world around is he took out a personal loan to pay off all of his credit card debt. And then he knew what his fixed monthly payment was for that loan. And it was a high amount, but he knew he could pay it every month. And then he wasn't putting anything on credit cards anymore that he couldn't pay for that month. So never carrying a statement balance, right? Paying your statement balance every time, not your minimum or anything in between. And so that's what I did. And I'm pretty sure, I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure the first personal loan I took out, it was like $20,000. That's how bad my credit card debt was. And the process, though, of offsetting my credit card debt with this personal loan was amazing. And I used SoFi, which, if you know about them, at the time they were just kind of coming around, but they're like all digital electronics, so they don't have physical banks. Maybe they do now, but back then one of their big things was if you were taking out a personal loan to pay off a credit card, they had all these like promos and things that would incentivize you to do it with them. So I got a personal loan through them. My set monthly amount in the beginning was a lot. I mean, it was like $750, I think. And I was paying San Francisco rent. So I think at that time I was paying like $1,850 in rent. And so I had these two big payments, and then I had to scale everything back. That was also when I started deciding to like move back to the Midwest, mainly to save money, not have such high rent. So anyway, back to the whole credit card thing. If you are in a situation right now where you were laid off, or you're going through unemployment or whatever, and you have these unexpected expenses that pop up, obviously you can put them on a credit card and then figure out in the next like 30 to 60 days how you're going to pay it, depending on when your next statement balance is due. But in learning all of this through my large credit card debt that I had to get out from under, I know now that, let's say I'm in a couple months not in a good financial situation, I would consider getting a personal loan before I would rack it up on my credit card. And so if you have that in your life, like maybe you just can't pay your regular everyday expenses, or maybe you have a crazy thing like I did with the plumbing, rather than put it on a credit card and carry it month over month at like 22, 23% interest, get a personal loan. The interest rate is normally much lower depending on your credit score and all of that. It can be anywhere from like 6 to 10%. So money that you're paying a lot less to borrow. And then that way you can use that to not only pay for your expenses, but like start paying the loan back too, So I just thought that that was something that I wouldn't have understood years ago. And if I wasn't in the financial situation I'm in now, today would have been like 10 times more stressful, because I wouldn't have been able to afford that $600, and I would have been thinking about the interest of carrying it over and how am I going to come up with the money fast enough to pay that off. So I just wanted to share that advice in case that's helpful. There must be someone at my house if you can hear my dogs. And the other thing I'd say about if you're going through financial uncertainty or these things pop up is talk about it with someone. Sometimes even just navigating it with someone close to you, a financial planner, someone like that, can really help. And oftentimes not addressing it makes it worse. So when I just kind of thought of my credit card balance as like, well, I can't pay the whole thing, it definitely was getting worse over time. Whereas if I had paid more close attention to what I was spending on every month and what was coming in, I might have prevented some of that debt and the interest ultimately that I had to pay over time. If you have questions or advice or tips or things that you do, drop them below. And yeah, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode.